Well, Thursdays have become my favorite day of the week. Why? Well, there's many reasons, but the top reason is because it's Mortgage Minute. And more importantly, we get to spend some time with the guru of rates and mortgages and anything about financing when you're talking about a mortgage, and that's Art Alvarez. Let's bring him in. He is just coming back. He's been out of the country, but he's bringing back good news. Art, welcome back.
Hi, Jeff. How are you?
Good. Should I try to speak some Spanish to you? Like, hola.
I'm a little light on that, despite my last name, but
yeah. Safe trip back from Mexico.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Sure. You said it was a really easy border entry.
Yeah, crossing by car sometimes, especially when you're heading north back into the U.S., it can be a little slow. That's why it's recommended you have a Century Pass. But this time around, I was with my brother who doesn't have a Century Pass, so we had to go through the regular lane, which, like I said, that can be hit and miss.
Yeah, well,
and it was wide open this morning. So
that's really nice. A nice surprise on a Thursday. So Thursday's your favorite day too, because the border was clear of stalls and delays.
That's right. Yeah.
Well, before I turn it over to you, I just want to remind people that are joining us live or on recorded, please put your questions in the comments, and I'll be in the background, and we'll put those up there, and Art will answer those. I know he's got a big show today, so I'm going to step aside and turn it over to you, Art.
Okay. Thanks, Jeff. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's Mortgage Minute. I think I've got relatively good news this week in terms of on the interest rate and bond market. And like you probably know by now, that's the way we like to start the program, is to give you a little bit of a update as to where the rates are on a weekly basis. There's our rate grid taken right from our homepage of our website. Rates are hanging in there, despite the fact the 10-year bond yield has climbed up from a low point in late December. We're hanging on to some pretty decent rates. We're still in the fives on government loans, FHA, VA, conforming loans still hovering right there in the mid sixes. So kind of have stabilized there. So all in all, I think pretty good news. We haven't seen, too much of a deterioration in rate levels since mid-December. We also like to show you the 10-year bond chart. It was a little scary early this week. It was, as you can see there on the kind of right-hand side of the chart, it was getting close to 420 on the yield, 10-year yield, which you can also see going back to last Friday. It was also touching about that 420 level. Then it dropped off early to mid this week, started to climb again basically yesterday, but thankfully we've come back down to a pretty nice level of 412, so well off of that near 420 level. In terms of what's going on this week in terms of data points and indicators that have caused these movements in the bond yields and mortgage rates, early in the week we had the leading indicators come out. It fell again, which has occurred for many months, and yet the news headlines associated with that was that there was still no real sign of recession coming. So kind of a mixed signal there, dropping leading indicators, and yet suggestions that there's no sign of a recession. Even the next day, I think it was Tuesday, the U.S. ISM Institute of Survey Management for both services and manufacturing sectors were showing resilience. We're looking pretty strong. And then later this week, starting with today, we had the initial claims for unemployment, GDP, and fourth quarter PCE, personal consumptions expenditures. That is the Fed's favorite inflation data point. It excludes food and energy. And so today what we saw was initial claims back up over 200,000 at 214,000. It was only 187,000 the week before. GDP came out at 3.3 for the fourth quarter, much better than expected. It was expected to be around 0.2. And then the PCE, the Personal Consumptions Expenditure Index, that's a mouthful, came out for fourth quarter with a 2% level. So the core favorite Fed indicator of inflation came out at only a 2% level in the fourth quarter. At the same time, the GDP for the fourth quarter was at a very strong 3.3. The market's embracing that as good news. And so that's why we actually saw our bond yields come down today, despite the fact we had some pretty strong economic numbers there with that GDP number. The other thing I wanted to mention in terms of, well, this is sort of not good news, but it's bad news. It can be good news for the mortgage business. The inventor of the inverted yield curve is hanging on to his theory, and therefore he is predicting we're still going to see a recession in 2024. Now, we talked about the inverted yield curve months ago. That's where the 2-year Treasury yield gets higher than the 10-year Treasury yield. That's been the case since 2022, and that's always perfectly the last 8 times where the yield curve has inverted, a recession did follow. So it's considered the strongest indicator of a coming recession. And so the inventor of that yield curve is still hanging on to the belief a recession is coming. He thinks it will happen in 2024. So if that were to be true, which is bad news, it's actually good news for rates, most likely, because when we're in a recessionary period, 10-year bond yield tends to fall. Mortgage rates will tend to fall as well. And then lastly, on the good news front, I wanted to point out that Fannie Mae has revised their forecast for mortgage rates for this year and next. Previously, they were looking at by the end of this year, 6.5, by the end of 2025, 6.1. Well, they just came out earlier this week and now publicized that they're forecasting 5.8 by the end of 24, 5.5 by the end of 2025. So that, I hope, is going to give everybody a little bit of optimism about rates. It was not looking so good maybe a week or two ago. Now we're seeing more and more indications we could see some decent improvement going into end of this year and next. So let's stay tuned and see if that happens. I think it'll be a big help for the housing markets. So with that, I want to go ahead and get into what is going to be really the core subject I want to talk about today. And it's a program that many of you may recall first came out last year in the state of California. And it's administered or offered through an agency, the California Housing Finance Agency, or what we call CalHFA. And that agency's been around for years. I've actually originated CalHFA loans, or back in the day, we used to call it CHFA loans, all the way back in the 80s when I was in the upper desert in LA County, in the Palmdale, Lancaster area. Well, the agency, last year through the state of California had gotten funding for a loan program, a down payment assistance loan. The program was known as, and still is known as, Dream for All. And if you may remember, when it first came out, the way it was implemented was a little rough. It was implemented on a first come, first served basis. So last year when it came out, we ran out of funds in 9 days. So it was a mad dash. A lot of folks got disappointed when they missed out. The demand was, of course, overwhelming. And so this year, the program is back. Thus, I have the title of this slide, Return of the Dream for All program. And again, what this program is that you get down payment assistance in the form of a loan. Now, that loan has no monthly payments. And at a later date, you are required to repay back the loan, as well as sharing in the appreciation of your home at the time you're paying back the loan. So really popular program, a really big help for home buyers. Reason is the amount of loan that you can get. You are able to get a loan of up to 20% of your purchase price with a maximum amount of $150,000. So if you do the math on that, that basically says you can buy a home up to $750,000 and get a down payment assistance loan of 20% of that, which turns out to be $150,000. And so, of course, with that down payment assistance, you only need a loan amount to purchase that $750,000 home. You only need a loan amount of $600,000. So that's how powerful that is. That's how much of how big of a size of a loan you're getting to help you with that down payment. So what does it do? It extends your purchasing power. So in the example that I just gave you, you may have been pre-qualified for a home at $600,000 with a 3% down payment. So effectively, your loan amount's about just under $600,000. Well, with this program, even with you being approved for a $600,000 loan amount, now because you can get a loan of up to 20% of the purchase price, and at $750,000, that's the maximum $150,000. That means now, when you thought you can only buy a home for $600,000 with 3% down, now you can buy a home at $750,000, get that 20% loan, from the Dream for All program still need a $600,000 loan amount. So there you go. Now you're suddenly not buying at 600, you're now buying at 750, and yet your monthly housing expense is really going to be the same. Why? You're not having to make a payment on that 150,000 Dream for All loan. So that's how it extends your buying power to a higher price level. And in this example, you are saving over $900 a month in monthly housing expense and monthly payment because you're not having to make payments on that $150,000 loan piece that's covering your down payment. So again, in terms of the loan, it is a loan. You do have to pay it back, but there's no set term or timeline to pay it back. You pay it back, under different scenarios. You sell the home, obviously you're going to have to pay it back, and that's going to be the most common case. How do you pay it back? Two things. One is you have to pay back the original loan amount that you were given. So again, in our maximum example of $750 purchase price, where you're getting a $150,000 Dream for All loan, at a later date when you sell that home, and assuming it has appreciated, you would be paying back the initial $150,000 loan that you were given, as well as 20% of the appreciation gained since you purchased and financed the home with the Dream for All program. So for example, if you bought the home for $750, got the Dream for All for $150, and then 5 years later you sell the home for $950, then you've got a $200,000 appreciation, right, from your purchase price of $750 to your sale price of $950. So 20% of that, or $40,000, you have to give to the agency, along with paying back the $150 initial loan amount. Add those two together, it's $190,000 that you would pay back to the agency at whatever point in the future you sold that home with a $200,000 of appreciation. If your income for this program is under 80% of the area median, then your payback of the loan is your original loan amount and only 3/4 of the 20% of appreciation calculation. So you get a break if your income was under the 80% area median at the time you got the Dream for All program. So that's a big help there. Now, in terms of the return of the program and the process, it should be a lot more orderly now, as I put in the slide. It's not going to be first come, first serve. It's going to be a lottery system. And so here's how it's going to work. The first thing you're going to want to do is get pre-qualified for the program. There is an actual lender pre-qualification form that the agency uses that they would want to have submitted. We can help you with that. So you first get pre-qualified for this program. And you get the pre-qualification form or certificate. There will be a lottery held for access to the program, but not till April. So we've got plenty of time for folks to get pre-qualified for the program, get the pre-qualification form, and be able to then enter the lottery. So the lottery will be in April, and the lottery, at that time, what the lottery is going to do is it's going to give you access to getting a voucher. The voucher is what you're going to use to reserve the funds you need. And then you have 90 days from that point to find a home and get under contract, open escrow with this program by being under contract within that 90-day period after you successfully get a voucher as a result of the lottery. So again, that should be a much more orderly process relative to last year when it was first come, first serve. A lot of people lost out, a lot of unhappy people, stressed out people. So this should make it a lot more orderly, I hope, and keep it a smoother situation for everybody. Now, there's a couple of requirements about at least one requirement that's kind of new. First of all the borrowers in this program, so if you have multiple borrowers, all borrowers have to be a first-time home buyer. Now, typically that is defined as someone who hasn't owned a home in the last 3 years. Now, that's still the case. All the borrowers have to be first-time home buyers in terms of meeting that, not owning a home for 3 years definition. But in addition now, there's a first-generation home buyer requirement. What that means is at least one of the borrowers must be a first-generation home buyer. The criteria for that is the borrower cannot have owned a home in the last 7 years, and then the parents of at least this one borrower do not have a present ownership of a home. So a little, again, confusing. All the borrowers have to be first-time home buyer, not owned a home in the last 3 years. But then at least one of those home buyers have to be first generational, which means they cannot have owned a home for 7 years, and their parents cannot currently own a home. I know it's a little strange, a little hard to follow, but that is a new requirement of this program. And I think, again, it's really trying to focus and kind of narrow and apply the focus on folks who truly are first time in home ownership. That's really what this program is trying to serve. You do have to meet income limits, and those income limits vary by county. And what's interesting is this year, the income limits for the Dream for All program specifically have been lowered over the overall CalHFA, the agency's first-time home buyer income limits that they have for all their other programs. So the income limits for this Dream for All program have been lowered. For example, in my immediate county here where we're headquartered, we're in Palm Springs, that's Riverside County. The maximum income limit to be eligible for this program is $149,000 a year. That's the household income. San Bernardino, the same thing. San Diego's a little bit higher. LA County, interestingly, is only $155,000. So that's going to be kind of a tough limit for parts of that county for sure. Orange County is a little over 200. If you need to find out for your particular county, get a hold of me or contact us, and we'll be happy to give you the chart of the limits throughout the state of California. But again, keep in mind these income limits are lower. That could make it a little bit more of a challenge to qualify for the program for that first mortgage that you do have to get in conjunction with this loan, this straight loan that you don't have to make payments on. And again, as I've commented on at the beginning of this slide, this really is a good program for extending your purchasing power. It can get you a loan of up to $750, or get you a home up to $750,000 with $150,000 of down payment assistance. That should make a terrific difference in helping, in particular, first-time home buyers achieve home ownership in an affordable way. And we're happy to share this program with you. You're going to see a lot about it. There's going to be a lot of videos on YouTube and TikTok, I'm sure, and everywhere. So if you're at all interested, you're a first-time home buyer, this would really be something to get involved with as soon as you can. And we're here to help you make it as smooth as possible. So with that, Jeff, we'll go on to the next question, unless you think there's any questions that might have come up just from that information.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think that was very clear. I think one of the things that I just want to be really a little bit more helpful on is the income limits by county. So are you saying then the household income in Riverside County cannot exceed, what do you say, 149?
Yeah, the way that works is that, we first, of course, we have a borrower or borrowers. So once we look at the borrowers that are submitting the application, we're going to look at their income from all sources. We have to verify that. And so the household income for a buyer or buyers, if it's multiple buyers who want to be involved in this program, have to meet that limit. So for example, if it's a married couple, and we're here in Riverside County, then that married couple, we have to be able to establish their total monthly income is within that limit. If it's higher than that, they're not eligible for the program. They can't get this at all. So they have to be under that limit in order to be eligible. And then still, they're going to get a first mortgage through this agency as well as part of this program. And that first mortgage approval process and underwriting process is going to be like any other loan. There's going to be a debt ratio calculated. They're going to have to meet that debt ratio requirement and other qualifying requirements for the loan. And at 149, and if you are maybe looking at something at that peak 750 price level to use the full 150,000 maximum available, well, if you got a decent amount of other consumer debt, you could, get a little tight there on the qualifying ratio for the first mortgage, even though your income is within the limit to be eligible. So that's a subtle distinction. We will maybe run into cases where folks don't make enough that they're within the limit and they're eligible, but then even if they're close to the limit, maybe because of other consumer debt, what have you, or the price level they're trying to get, that 750, their qualifying ratio for the loan may be too high. And then we have to cut the loan amount or see how we can reduce their other debt so that they can qualify for the loan, even though they're eligible for the program. So you have to meet both. That's where it can get a little bit tricky.
Well, it sounds like you are the person to contact, and information is along the screen there at 760-883-5700. You can contact Art at MortgageWorks to find out more details. And as you said, now everyone needs to get pre-qualified. It sounds like somebody's gone back and said, hey, this thing in 9 days was a crazy time for this program last year. It sounds like now they've gotten said, hey, what can we do to make this program much more targeted and really focused on helping those people who need the assistance the most?
Right. Yeah, I think I'm really hopeful this is going to go much, much better. It seems like it should, given the way they've designed the process from the pre-qual to the lottery to the vouchers and the 90-day window and so forth. So that should, I think, smooth it out and make it a lot more orderly in terms of, still having a reasonable, fair shot at access to the program, and then allowed enough time, that 90-day window, to actually hurry up now and go out there, make an offer in a home, get an agreement, get it under contract, open escrow. If you do that within the 90 days, you should be set. Assuming that you've been well pre-qualified on the front end and you don't run into any problems once you get into escrow with getting that approval on that first mortgage that goes with this program. So,
folks, just make it easy on yourself. Pick up the phone and call Art. He'll help you with that information. 760, little issue there. Sorry about that. 760-883-5700 is his number. And Art, will turn it back over to you.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks, Jeff. Okay, now I want to go ahead and go into, we're going to finish up now with our closing question from last week. And it was an interesting one because I had just been asked the question by a potential home buyer just a few days before I was putting together the notes for today's show. Here it is. I was in the Coast Guard, and would that make me eligible for a zero down VA loan? Good question. Don't run into that often. In fact, I can't recall if I've ever actually arranged a VA loan for a Coast Guard veteran, but they are eligible. Now, so the answer is yes, but the eligibility requirements are different than other military, what I call military veterans. The regular, or not the regular, but the other services, the Army, Air Force, Marines, and Navy. The primary difference in eligibility is a longer service period is required. With military veterans, in most cases, a 2-year service period is sufficient, or certainly 4. But with the Coast Guard, you got to put in a little more time to be eligible for that VA loan. You do have to have 6 years of service and have an honorable discharge. Now, you can also be eligible, though, without that 6-year service if you were mobilized for active duty service for a period of at least 90 days during your Coast Guard career. That's pretty rare when it comes to the Coast Guard, but that is another way that you can be eligible for a zero down VA loan, is if you're in the Coast Guard and were mobilized for at least 90 days. And then the last way you can be eligible is if you served in the Coast Guard. Maybe didn't get that 6 years worth of service under your belt, but you ended up getting discharged because of a service-connected disability while in the Coast Guard, then that's also going to give you access to that VA home loan benefit. So keep that in mind for any of you out there who are watching this or hearing this. And if you know anyone who's been in the Coast Guard got out of the Coast Guard as a veteran of the Coast Guard and at least 6 years of service, you might want to make sure they are aware, at least, that they are eligible for a VA loan. VA loans, after all, are probably one of the best loan programs out there, both in terms of interest rate and qualifying criteria. And I always say, if you're looking for a jumbo loan and you're a veteran, there ain't a better jumbo loan program out there than a VA 30-year fixed jumbo loan where you can still get an interest rate in the fives. So keep that in mind, whether you're a Coast Guard veteran or a regular military veteran. A jumbo VA loan is a great way to go if you do have that VA home loan entitlement. So good question. And because of that question, I'm going to also throw in for our closing question for next week, another service-related question, which is, what is the difference between a VA loan and a CalVet loan? So stay tuned next week to the Mortgage Minute, where I'll have the answer, and it will be on the house. Jeff, back to you.
Hey, Art, great show. I just wanted to roll something back as we're talking. You kind of finished up there with some great interest rates. And you said now that Fannie Mae is predicting 5.8 and 5.5 as our interest rates in 24 and 25. And I know you've been really talking about this way before anybody else about leveraging the power of those 3-2-1s or a buy down, and instead of taking a discount on a house, why not use that to buy the loan down? Isn't this now even more fuel to that fire of like, hey, I feel pretty confident the rates are going to drop, and I'm going to go and take advantage of the rates they are right now, which I think are very good, and really leverage that?
I think so. In fact, it's really nice that you're bringing that up, because I think some folks can misunderstand how to read these opportunities. Some buyers who have been waiting, now that they're hearing Fannie Mae has revised their forecast better, they're predicting that lower 5.8 end of this year, 5.5 next year. So that is reason for optimism. But I think what you want to watch out for is home buyers who have been waiting for lower rates shouldn't hear that and say, oh, I need to wait further until the end of 24 or the end of 25. No, by my way of thinking, that's good to know if that prediction proves to be true, but it's more the reason why. Get out there now, find that house, use the 3-2-1 buy down strategy as a bridge from where rates are that we have now that are higher to hopefully what those lower rates are that are being predicted in the near future. So the 3-2-1 gives you that bridge. You can get a jumbo loan still, or a conforming loan for sure, up to 766. Your first year rate's going to be probably around 3.5. And if you go find a house now, I can help you structure a 3-2-1 in your offer. You can get that mid 3.5 year first year payment and rate. And then 4.5 second year, 5.5 third year. You've got that 3-year window, so that if the Fannie Mae prediction's true, you get into 2025, you're in the mid fives, maybe 26, early 26, maybe we'll go below 5. That's when you strike the refi to lower that note rate, which is going to be at 6.5 with that 3-2-1 now. You can get that down to 5.5, maybe 5 or 4.5 before the 3-2-1 buy down period is over. That's where it's going to perfectly work for that home buyer. Buy now, have low rates while you're waiting for the note rate to fall. Grab that when it does. Off you go. It's a good potential scenario if you buy now. So.
Yeah, it's like that. Yes, you can have your cake and eat it too. I like that. So
I think so. I'm talking to another buyer right now. Same thing. Looking at a house, contemplating whether to offer full price. Talked about going lower. We're now discussing maybe stay at full price and let's use one of these options, one of these strategies of buying down the rate, so you can extract some better financial dollars benefit by asking for that concession in a way other than just a lower price.
I like that. Hey, one other follow-up question with the DREAM program, the down payment assistance program. What is that going to? Because it seems like it's going to be a bit of a fever for people to go out there and buy homes. How are you seeing the inventories now? Are they going to be able to support this extra little spur of activity?
I think so. Inventory is starting to grow a little bit. I mean, it's not, again, back to the 6-month supply, but it is starting to grow a little bit. One thing I access pretty much on a daily basis is the CRMLS system, which is more of a Southern California MLS system used in Orange County. And so it's got a pretty broad scope in terms of activity within that particular MLS system. I've noticed the days on market when I go in there now just about every day, is creeping up. When I was in there this morning looking at a comp, the days on market was now up to 73. That's over 2 months. So what that's saying is the average days on market for a property, if it's listed for sale, is now going over 2 months. And that's an indication that maybe we're starting to see some inventory growth. And so, yeah, I think the inventory is enough to support what this program's going to do in terms of generating activity in April once that lottery occurs and those vouchers are running around making offers on houses. I think the inventory will be there. I mean, the timing is good in terms of the time of year, because theory goes springtime is when, people tend to put their homes on the market anyway. So assuming to the extent that's true, timing this program for a lottery in April is probably good timing.
One final question on those vouchers. Do they have an expiration?
Well, basically, like I said, 90 days.
Okay.
So the idea is you get pre-qualified. It's not advisable that you be pre-qualified and already have a home identified and under contract with, because you have no assurance that even if you prevail in the lottery that you're going to get your voucher. Well, actually, if you prevail in the lottery, you're going to get a voucher, but you don't know for sure if you're going to get one. So it's not advisable to already be in escrow on a property where you're planning on using the program when you don't know if you're going to get the voucher to have access. So the idea is you get pre-qualified, you enter the lottery, and when you enter the lottery, if you prevail and get a voucher, then you've got a 90-day clock. So you get the voucher, you got 90 days, go find the house, make your offer, get it accepted, get under contract and into escrow. That is what allows you to reserve the funds to complete the purchase. So you've got a 90-day expiration, basically.
It's an exciting time. It's got a lot of things going on, to try to stimulate what's going on, and also to help out those specific individuals that are not, to become those first-time home buyers. Right. I love the way they've kind of zeroed in on that.
Right.
For more information, obviously, you want to get a hold of Art at MortgageWorks at 760-883-5700. Of course, you can always contact them on his cell, even if he is traveling abroad or into foreign countries, at 714-612 9035. That's 714-612-9035. Of course, you can always go to the website at mwloan.com. And you want to check out the rate grids. And also, there's a lot of extra tools on there that Art has put on the website to help you with calculators and things of that nature. And so it's a very, very good resource. And of course, email Art at mwloan if you have a specific question. But if you're here afterwards and you missed putting your question in, but this conversation sparked gosh, I have a question, put it in the comments. Art will respond to those later. In the meantime, Art, it's been a great show. Once again, you are a beacon of hope and light, and I appreciate that. Let's have a good week. I'll turn it back over to you.
All right. Thanks, Jeff. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening to this week's Mortgage Minute. My name is Art Alvarez. I'm with MortgageWorks, where we do have the answers, and they're on the house. So long. Take care. We'll see you next week.